All right. Hey guys, welcome. Happy Thursday. Hope you all are having a good week. It is a nice day out there. So hopefully if you've been inside, you can get out and enjoy the nice weather. And I heard it's National Margarita Day. So there's that. Um, so um, what I wanted to cover today is, as the title slide suggests, top ways to find the motivated. I want business now. And so this week, I think it was Tuesday, I was presenting, presenting lunch, I suppose, I at Champions, and and I don't teach there, but every now and then I'll show up and sponsor lunch, and they have to sit there and listen to me talk about joining White Rock Realty. Well, as luck would have it, I usually always get a question about, does the brokerage provide leads? And so I kind of have this pat answer where I say, no, not really. I mean, real estate's a relationship-based business, and the best lead is going to be the one that you cultivate a relationship through. But the spirit of her question was a good one, because what she may not have realized that she was asking was, I want business, but I really want to talk to the motivated. Because now she used the term lead, but I think what she meant was a qualified lead, right? And so, how do we get in front of a qualified lead? How do we, in essence, talk to a motivated person who is willing to buy or sell within the next 6 to 12 months? And so that's what we're going to cover today. So um, there are two kinds of business sources in real estate. One is short term. Okay, so how are you going to get business in the near term? And long term. All right, so long term is going to be things like work by referral, work in your network, networking, things that are going to take time to cultivate. But short term is what we're going to talk about today. So the first segment of business is for sale by owners. And so if you ever hear anyone use the term FSBO, that's kind of what we're talking about here. So let's talk about the difference between a for sale by owner and an expired listing. So an expired listing has already made the decision to hire a realtor. Now we're going to go through expired listings later, but when you differentiate between the two, one's made that decision and one hasn't. Okay. And so a for sale by owner, they still need some convincing. So, what is the for sale by owner mindset? So, if you were going to try and prospect this segment of business, where are they in this process? Well, initially to them, it's all about price and expense, right? So, they always think that their home is worth more than it usually is. And they want to keep as much money in their pocket as they possibly can. And I would go one step further in that you could argue that they're willing to sacrifice our expertise to get those two things. All right. And usually it always ends poorly for that client. Okay. But that's kind of where their mindset is. But is it really about those two things? Isn't it really about realizing our value? Okay. So they don't want to pay for something that they don't see value in. And so this is logical thinking, because if people are only moving every 10 or 12 years, people have an inherent short memory anyway. And so if the last time they've been through this process is 10 years ago, it is natural to discount what we can do for them. So why go after this segment? Well, they are motivated and they are easy to find. All right. And so they can also be misinformed. And so you become the expert real fast. Um, and they're very accessible. Right. So why is that? Well, because you drive down any street and find a for sale by owner sign, and their phone number, the direct connection to them, the owner, is going to be on that sign. And you already have their address, right? So two of the biggest things that we need to prospect are already being given to you. All right. And then the statistic is that 85% will eventually list with an agent. Right. So what happens to the other 15? Well, a portion of that is going to be able to sell it on their own anyway. It's going to be a fist fight. I pity that poor buyer. And then a subset of that is going to just not, it's not going to sell, and they're just going to give up. Right. But the lion's share of a for sale by owner does list with an agent eventually. So the question is, why not us? Right. And I forgot to tell you, you might not be able to tell, but I'm wearing my name tag today. So I gotta walk the talk here. So, and I'm wearing it on my right hand side. So I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. So I have some errands to run later, so I'll let you know what happens. But forgot to mention that earlier. So what are they missing by not using a real estate agent? Well, they are missing out on mass distribution. So they are literally relying on a handful of people who will drive by their house. Right now, yeah, you can list it on Zillow for sale by owner and some other websites, but that's only going to scratch the surface. And so it's not only if you're using a realtor listed in the MLS, but it then goes out to all of those thousands and thousands of websites, right? So they're missing out on that. They are going to inevitably incorrectly price their home. And remember that Texas is a non-disclosure state, which means that the general public does not have access to what a home sold for. All right, so they have no basis by which to set their price other than what's currently listed and what those prices are, and then what in their gut they think that they can get. Right? They have to coordinate showings. This, in and of itself, this alone is worth hiring a realtor for. All right. It's the same thing goes for leasing a home. I mean, this is a beatdown because you want to make sure that everybody sees that home that they possibly can. And the only way to do that is to go through the owner themselves. And so they have to be available, the home has to be available. And so it can become quite a beatdown. They're not going to do any open houses typically, right? And so we would do that. They have zero contract knowledge, so they become exposed legally. And there is an inverse relationship between their learning curve, in other words, how fast it takes them to realize what they have to do to get their home sold, and the interest that is lost as time passes. Okay. So how do you find them? Well, begin with driving your own neighborhood. So within a 1 to 2 mile radius. And by default, because you live around the area, you're going to be the local expert, and that becomes your selling point. All right, you can find them on Zillow or Craigslist. You know, and there are some other sites that you can go to where people can list their home by owner. And here's one of them. I mean, you can go to forsalebyowner.com. All right, so what do you want to accomplish? So you want to be able to prove your value by subtly impressing them. And you can do that in a number of ways, right? But it's really going to be all about what you know versus what they know, right? And you want to start building a trusting relationship. Right? They need to believe they can't get this done without you. All right. The other thing you want to accomplish is list the home. I mean, ultimately, now that's not the only thing that you can provide for them, by the way. And if you lead with that, it becomes a much easier relationship to have. Okay. You don't want to just, same with expireds. I mean, you don't just want to have this, your single goal be to list their home, right? Because you may get a referral from them if they still want to list their own home, right? So even if they don't hire you, you still stand a chance of getting a referral. All right. And then the bonus is that you might be able to help them go buy their next home. Okay. So resources. So their phone number, right? This is a great way to be able to communicate, right? So you can text them, you can call them, you can video text them, whatever. RPR, just pop in the address and up will pop the value of their home. Great place to start, in addition to the MLS, right? So Texas Association of Realtor Resources, tons of stuff there. Comps, so, you know, the MLS, note cards. So this is going to be a slow go for them, you know, so you're going to have time to send out note cards. And then only you really have access to what homes are coming soon and what open houses are going to be in that area. This becomes great information for them, right? So these are all things that you can provide to that client. So what does this interaction look like? So in-person visit or video text or call, this is your first interaction, right? So you already have their phone number, you already have their address. And so you might say something like this: "Hi, Mr. Smith, I noticed you had your home for sale and it wasn't listed with an agent. I wanted to see if you needed any assistance. I live and work in the area as a realtor and really just want to see how I can help you, besides, of course, bringing a buyer, because I'm sure that that's something that you would like." All right, so ask. So how are you coordinating showings? How are you qualifying buyers? How are you getting the word out that your home is for sale? And how did you come up with your price? And so these are 4 or 5 really good questions that plant the seeds in their mind as to how deficient they actually are in this process by doing it themselves. Okay, and then offer to do an open house. And there are contracts for this. So if you just want to host an open house for them and put it in writing so that they feel more comfortable, those forms do exist. Offer to provide a seller's disclosure, right? Because chances are they will not have one. Offer to distribute any flyers they might have. So if they've gone the extra mile and actually creating some marketing material, just say, "Hey, look, I do this for a living, and I talk to a lot of people. Would it be helpful if I passed your flyers along?" Okay. Now, don't offer too much because they will take advantage of you, right? And so this is a hard fact and a hard lesson to learn sometimes. But you know, create boundaries. Okay. You don't want to do anything that is going to be overstepping the boundaries. And then send a handwritten note after you speak with them and add them to your database. Are you able to repeat the questions for prospective for sale by owners? Linda, I'm not sure what your question is. You can unmute and ask.
Yes. Hi. You said, "Hi, Mr. Smith. How are you coordinating open houses?" There were several questions that you gave at that point.
Yeah. So they're on the screen now. So they are. How are you coordinating showings? How are you qualifying buyers? So in other words, buyer comes forward. How do you know if they're even qualified? How are you getting the word out that your home is actually for sale? And then how did you come up with your price?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Okay, so interaction 2 with a for sale by owner would be 1 week later. Leave that RPR report with them because that is specific to their property. So again, pop in the address and RPR, up will come dozens and dozens of possible pages you can give them. Okay, and just leave a note, leave it on their doorstep. Thought you might find this helpful. How are things going? All right. And then leave something that speaks to days on market. They are most concerned with time on market and price, just like everybody else. So how quick is this home going to sell? And can I get the most money for it? And just text them that you stop by. All right. Because remember, you have their phone number. And then send a handwritten note. This is interaction number 2. Interaction number 3, leave a quick CMA with homes that have sold, pendings, actives, and expires. Text them that you stopped by and offer to do an open house. Send a handwritten note. So you'll notice that in most of these interactions, you don't really interact at all, but you stop by and you're going to text them or email them that you have stopped by. Okay, so interaction number 4, leave a sample of your marketing material for them. Make sure you put sample across it so that they can't use it, right? So why would you do that? Well, you might use a photo of their home in your marketing material, but you don't want them to steal what you've done for them. So make it so that they can't do that. Right? Text them that you stopped by. Send a handwritten note. Okay, and then every 2 weeks, I would follow up with them. And some of these will lead nowhere, but the end goal is not necessarily to always list the home. It's relationship building. It's maybe they end up selling it themselves, but a neighbor comes by and says, "Oh, hey, Bill, I noticed that you sold your home and you did it yourself." "Oh, yeah, but you know what? There was this realtor that kept communicating with me, and man, he or she was awesome. If you're ever thinking of listing your home, you might look that person up." And so you never know where that might lead. All right. So there are other things out there, marketing material that NAR puts out, TAR puts out. Why use a realtor? Ask for the business directly. So at this point, after you've followed up, you might ask for the business directly. Just say, "Hey, are you getting tired of this already? Like, are you ready to, move forward?" We have vendor guides. If you have people in your neighborhood that, HVAC repair people, plumbers, electricians, you might pass that along to them. That's always useful. Lender info in case they're looking to go buy a home. CMAs, notes, note cards, area open houses that they can attend, anything that's going to help them sell their home. All right, so the final thoughts is that you can do a limited time listing. So what is that? Well, if a for sale by owner just wants to kind of dip their toe in the water and see if you are who you say you are and are going to perform the way that you said, you might consider listing it for 30 days or 60 days. You can do that, and just make the listing agreement for that amount of time and just say, "Look, just give me a shot. Give me 30 days. If you see no traction, then I won't bug you again." But it gets a listing in the MLS for you. It gets a sign in the yard. And the more invested they become in your effort, the less likely they're going to be to cancel that listing. And you might consider charging a flat fee. If they are so concerned about cost, you don't have to charge them, 3% on your side. You might do a $2,500 flat fee or whatever you want to do. I mean, I will absolutely be okay with it. And there are contracts specifically for sale by owners that ensure you get paid. They are, one of them is called the registration between broker and owner. And so there are specific forms that make this process easier for you. Right? And so be persistent and consistent. And I would say 2 attempts per week should net you about 4 listings a year. All right. And so that's a pretty good batting average. That's an extra 50, 60,000 bucks. All right. And so remember, they are carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders by doing this themselves. And eventually, 85% of these folks are going to get beat down. And just know that, yourself included, people are willing to always pay more to be less inconvenienced. right? So that is a fact, all right? If that was not a fact, valet parking would not exist, right? And then call out exactly how you can help them with showings, pricing, qualifying buyers. It's very important to hit these 3 or 4 pain points because this is the heavy lifting they're doing right now. Okay. And so be mindful of signs that people are moving. So there are typically repair trucks parked outside someone's home. They could be doing a garage sale. The home might be vacant. And then get a list of non-owner occupied homes. RPR can provide that for you as well. And weekends are always ideal for looking for this. All right, so that's it on for sale by owners. My next one is open houses, or as I like to call them, show up and it's like shooting fish in a barrel because people will come to you. Okay, people will come to you. So how do you get them? Search the MLS by your zip code for active listings. Look for those where an agent lives far away from the actual listing, right? And then call that agent to host an open house. You'll probably have to call 10 before you get one that either answers or says yes. Okay, but that's not a lot of calls to make. All right, and so you're going to start Monday. You're going to get one by Wednesday. And then that coming weekend is when you're going to host the open house. Okay. And now remember, though, only the listing agent can put the open house into the MLS. So that's one important point you're going to have to keep after them about, because half the people that show up found you because it was on Zillow or Realtor.com. All right. And the way the math works, I swear to God, if you do 2 open houses a month and get an average of 5 people that come through, and it's nice weather, y'all, so people attend these things this time of year, you're going to get 10 to 4, I said listings, I didn't mean to say that, 10 to 4 closings a year, 10 to 14 closings a year. Okay, guaranteed. All right, but you got to put forth the effort. So let's look at an example of how this would look. Let me just make sure I didn't get signed out. Okay, so I know that some of you are calling from cities other than DFW, but your MLS is going to look similar. So here's what I mean. You're going to do a residential search, and you don't want to inconvenience yourself. I mean, you want to stick to the notion that you are a local expert. And so who better to host an open house in the backyard, in your backyard, than you? So you're going to just look by zip code. Now I'm going to look at mine. 75022. There's 47 matches. So I'm going to go to results. And here they all are. And I'm going to go through one by one and go to the bottom of the page where it says, where is this office listed? Okay, so this one happens to be in Flower Mound, so I'm not going to call that person. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one is in the city of Dallas, so this is about a good 20 miles away. They are not going to want to come to Flower Mound to do an open house. This is someone that I would call, and here's his number. So you can call him, text him, video text him, whatever. And you're going to say, hey, Amin, I noticed that you have a listing at 9128 Choctaw Trail. I live right around the corner from that listing. Would you be okay if I held this home open this weekend? It's going to be a yes, no, or maybe. If it's a no, move on to the next one. Okay. Now, if you call 10 or 12 and you get nowhere, start to call the people that, you know, in this example is in that same town. You never know. You never know. And the bonus is that now you've met someone that lives in your area. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. So that is the exercise for open houses. All right. So these are the motivated. You get 2 to 5 people or more coming in these open houses, it's going to be a gold mine. All right. So I have other education on our website about how to do an open house, but this kind of gives you the broad strokes. Okay. So expired listings. So just to give you a sense of how important the real estate industry places on expired listings, let's go back to the MLS. It is so important of a business source that there's actually a filter for it right here. And let's go to my zip code again. And there's 16 in the past 90 days. That's nothing. Let's go back 120. 16. And so the cardinal sin of any sales job is to run out of people to call. If you hit up expireds and open houses, it's endless. You'll never run out of people to call. Okay. So this becomes my database. And 16 is a lot, by the way. You want to only focus on 4 or 5 because it's a lot to bite off, right? I mean, you can try and call all 16, but that's a full-time job. All right. So make it manageable. But I just wanted to show you visually that it's easy to find them. Okay. So the $1 million question that you're going to ask an expired listing is, are you going to relist or not? End of story. Do you want to relist your home? It's either going to be yes, no, or maybe. And if it's yes or maybe, you just want to say, that's cool. I would like to interview for that job. And I'm going to tell you why that matters. Because if their old realtor was still in the running for relisting the home, it would have been relisted. So you have to assume that that old realtor is out of the picture, right? And if he's not, then the seller will tell you, right? So all you want to know is, are you going to relist the home and can I interview for that job? So that's going to require a physical conversation. Okay. So search within 5 miles of your zip code. That might even be a stretch, maybe do 2 or 3. I would avoid calling or sending letters because everyone does that and you're not going to stand out. So what do I suggest? Visit them and bring your 1-page resume that exists on our marketing tab on our website, a list of comps, the RPR report for their house. Don't overcomplicate it. This is only step 1. Okay. And then, so go on the weekends. I don't know if yeah. So go on the weekends. That's when their guard is down. And especially if you're doing this when the sun goes down after, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you're not going to want to do this during the weekday. So use weekends. It's easier to reach out to them. So, people are out in their yard. They're more approachable, right? But interaction number 1, you just want to find out if they're going to relist their home. If you sense that they're easy to, communicate with, maybe you ask them to take a tour of the home or set up an appointment later to do that. That's fine too. But you want to begin establishing that relationship and trust. Okay. And then use the follow-up plan on our website that's under business building as a means to follow up with those expireds. I mean, this is such low-hanging fruit. It's not even funny. Talk about shooting fish in a barrel. They've already raised their hand and said, I want to move out of here. I want to sell my home. Just so happens the first guy didn't get it done. All right. And so why not you? Okay. All right. So question is, I have heard a favorite podcaster say this works for him when he is looking for anything, room upgrade, discount. What are the chances I get an upgrade, etc.? His point was, if you don't ask, you'll never know. I think I'll start using that line. Good point. Good point. Good point. All right. So the trick with for sale by owners and expired listings is that you got to follow up. The expired, you got to think of terms of 12 months. An expired listing is never going to list with you in the first interaction. Okay. So the next one is builders. So Why would I consider this motivated? Because builders already have inventory, right? You don't have to worry about booting another seller out. They already have inventory. There's no one occupying the home. The model home is open 7 days a week, and there are never any issues with paying commission. Okay, builders are exempt from a lot of the RESPA rules. And so this is one of them. I mean, with all the commission lawsuits that are floating around these days, no one ever mentions builders, do they? Because builders are always paying the commission. All right. And so you want to make it as easy as possible for their buyers. All right. So imagine if you were successful with just one builder, and that builder gave you 6 listings or 6 clients a year. But how would that transform your business? So how do you approach builders? So I want to ask you a question. When I say the word builder, who pops into your mind? Is it D.R. Horton? Is it Lennar? Is it Bloomfield Homes? Is it one of these big institutional builders? Because that's typical, right? And so you're not going to have as much success with these guys as you are with smaller builders. So there is a Texas Association of Home Builders at texasbuilders.org. And if you go here, you don't have to be a member, although it's cheap. And I always suggest being a member of this organization because you're going to get the inside track to this niche. And why not? And by the way, NAR has a designation for, credentials for being a new home seller representative. So just planting that seed. It's a good niche to get into. But you can go to this website free of charge, and there is a directory. And you can filter it by location, and other things. So look under the directory, and you're going to find, yes, D.R. Horton, yes, Bloomfield Homes, but you're going to find a lot of other builders that you're not going to recognize. Those are the ones to go after, okay? Because they want buyers. And so offer to market yourself in unique ways for them. So do video, hold a spec home open, post on social media, tag them. I mean, and if it all feels like it's out of your comfort zone, that is okay. You are not going to do anything that is irreparable. Everything is trial and error. So if you've never done video before, or if you've never asked a home builder to hold their home open, there's a first time for everything, man. You gotta get out of your comfort zone and start doing some of these things. If you don't ask, you're not gonna get. Okay. And builders are like for sale by owners in that rarely are there listings in the MLS. And so how are they getting buyers? They're relying on people driving by and looking at these huge balloons that are in the air, or maybe someone just happens to know where a bunch of builders are, but there is no good way to market to the general public if you're a builder. This is where you come in, okay? So ask them directly if you could offload something. This is the salesperson or the builder directly. If you could offload something you do that would free up more time, what would that be? All right. And so this, in essence, will become your currency, because all of us have an answer to that question. All right. Even if we're not in real estate, there is something in our day that if we could give it to somebody, that would free up more time for us. And so ask what that is. And if it's not too unreasonable, offer to do that. Right. And so steer the conversation towards marketing, getting more buyers, moving inventory. Right. So the good news is about this niche is that they have inventory already, and their mission is the same as yours because they want to get a buyer. Right. So there's got to be a way You have a license, they don't. There's got to be a way to collaborate to accomplish that one common goal. And sometimes you're not going to know until you ask them. Okay. But convenience becomes your currency. All right. And then you may consider showing up with lunch or a snack every now and then because they don't have time. Right. They're on the move, they're doing stuff all day. That is a nice thing to do. And then, bonus, if you want to accelerate that relationship and that connection, find something about them personally that will connect you faster. So, what are their interests? Man, do some research on social media or Google. You're going to find a picture of one of them fishing or doing something that will be an in for you. Right? And if not, then ask them, what do you like to do when you're not building homes? So find what that is and exploit that to get that relationship going faster. Okay. And that's it. So those are the 4 or 5 motivated, sources of business beyond, your friends and neighbors that may not be willing to sell right now. And so if you are ever at a loss for getting leads or where to find business, I've given you all of these are just an endless supply of prospects. You don't need to buy leads on Zillow. You have them right here for you. So, so any other comments, questions, stories to share before we drop off? No? Okay. All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you all for hopping on. And with any luck, I'll have my CE courses approved by next week, and we'll do some free CE. If not, I'll have something else for you. But if you have any questions on how to make any of these sources of business work for you, please contact me. I do this all day, every day, and I can't help you if you don't reach out. So please do that, and let's get you all some closings. And we will see you back here, same time next week. Take care, guys.